Tell me more about his mother. I mean, what your grandmother? What was she involved in?
That I'm not exactly sure, but my dad said that she would consort with spirits, and she would basically like have these jinns, these like creatures, sweep her floors for her. My father said that he can recall times when the broom was just levitating off the ground, and it was, I mean, that's very cliche. I told him, because witches are supposed to ride brooms and stuff. But he said, sure enough, she had all of these things in motion without even being present in the room. So I imagine what she did was she used it for either nefarious purposes or to, I don't know, I guess you could say just make life easier. Just, it's kind of like a Faustian thing where maybe she knew that later she's going to have to pay a price for it.
Her soul.
And that's why she had that tattoo on her forehead. It was, I guess, an attempt to mitigate any type of consequences in this life. Yeah.
What was the tattoo? Do you know? I mean, do you have a picture of it, or can you draw it? What did the tattoo show?
It was Arabic writing.
Okay.
I once saw a picture of my grandmother holding me in her arms when I was just an infant. And I don't know whatever happened to that photo. I think my uncle has it, and he's back in Pakistan, I believe, in Karachi. And he has been there since, I believe, the last pandemic started. He had to go back. He had a stroke or a heart attack or something when he was living with my sister in New Jersey. So he has all of these really interesting photos, and I believe he's the one that has one of those, but that's probably in the old country. So
wow. Have you gone back?
I did see that before.
Have you gone back to Kandahar at all?
I've never gone back to Kandahar. Okay. No. 9/11 happened. I believe it was the third or fourth day of my ninth grade year when I was in high school. I was going to William Tennant High School in Warminster, Pennsylvania at the time, and that's pretty much when I decided they might think, I don't know. My uncle told me to never go there. They might think I'm a spy,
Okay.
Straight up. Plus, it doesn't help that my uncle in foster care was in the CIA. So I don't know who would see that, but, people have their ways of doing research on you. And he told me it would be a good idea for you to never go to Afghanistan. It doesn't matter if you know me or our family, you will probably get kidnapped and ransomed.
Wow.
And you may have to extract yourself.
Yeah.
So he warned me about it.
Wow.
And I don't speak the language. I did when I was a child. And then I went in foster care, and my parents' parental rights were terminated. So that would have been in, I believe, 98. I stopped visitations with them. I went into foster care in 95. And I was told by my uncle, even when I was an adult, to stay the heck out of there. Yeah, it wouldn't end well. I don't know how it would be now, but while the Americans were there, he said it wasn't a good idea.
It makes sense. Wow.
Yeah.
Why, can I ask you a personal question? How did you wind up in foster care?
Well, my father came here when I was about 10 months old. It was me. It was my sister immediately older than me. And then it was also my mother, her brother, who's my uncle, who I told you might have the photo of my grandmother. And it was my two oldest sisters as well. So it was the four kids, the parents, and my uncle. And I'm not sure why they wanted to move here, but I'm assuming it was because the Russians were invading. And my sister's 3 years older than me, and she was born in Pakistan. So they must have came here. My sister was born in I think 83 or 84. I believe 84, late 84. And they left Afghanistan when I believe a couple of my uncles died fighting the Russians. And then my mother had family in Karachi, and we went there, and from there we came to America.
I see. So from Kandahar to Pakistan to America. Okay, I get that.
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah,
that.
and there were stories about my father, how he got all of us into the country, and apparently he'd be gone for months and months at a time. And I don't know if he was working, clandestinely for, the U.S. government. I mean, we have always speculated that he did, and that's how we got here. And then it was a little weird, the circumstances in which, I was put in foster care. And then next thing you know, I have an uncle who was in the CIA, who lived there. And this happened right before 9/11 happened. And this guy was extremely scary, my uncle. Very, very cool guy. His name was John. And I missed the hell out of that guy. It was awesome.
Wow.
But we always had the feeling my dad maybe worked with U.S. intelligence or something, and that's how we were able to come here. And it could all be a farce. I mean, for all I know, he just smuggled heroin over there because he did that as well.
Right. Okay.
So, yeah.
Wow. Let me ask you something. With your grandmother, did you ever meet your grandmother, your father's mother, the one who was for all practical purposes, a witch who would bring animals to the giant's cave?
Yeah, apparently she held me in her arms, and that's who was in the photo with me as an infant.
But you later on in life
is my father's mother.
No connection.
Is the witch, and no, I guess she died after we moved to America.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Did your dad ever point out to you where the cave's location was?
No, he just said it was near his village someplace. He said it was a little bit like off the beaten path. You had to kind of know where it was. But apparently a lot of people a lot of people who dabbled in those dark arts knew about it. Other people, it's like there were rumors and I guess conspiracy theories about a giant living in the cave near the village. But I guess you really had to be in the know.
Very interesting.
But he said it was near the village.
Wow. Well, I just want to thank you so much for coming on the record. It's an amazing story, and what sort of your testimony is just yet another witness which validates what we broke in our Watchers series. That's Watchers 10 with the Kandahar giant. And I was actually threatened by a guy from a deep state, literally.
I might be next.
At a conference.
I've thought about it. I've been warned about it. I had a couple friends who saw the Terry Carter interview tell me, people might come after you for this. And I'm like, well, people have been coming after me my whole life. I have a bullet in my neck. I mean, what do you want me to say? I'm not scared to die. I'm not suicidal. Let's throw that out there, but I'm not scared to die.
I've had other people come up to me at conferences and talk about this, other witnesses, and that's all I'll say. I believe it's true. I believe that, your story just adds another layer of credibility to what we're looking at. And in my opinion, it's very possible that the giants from 3,000 years ago literally left the area and migrated into Kandahar and basically set up shop there. Because, one thing that you said, it goes back generations. So, it's interesting that you know that and stated that. Thanks for coming on the record, Ray. I'll give you the last word, and I really appreciate it.
Well, I do know something else that I spoke to my father about that I didn't mention in Terry's interview. And that was that there are these creatures in the earth called Ma드주메. I spoke to Terry about this, but I didn't say it in the interview with him. Essentially, they call them I guess a word for monster, but they're like these acid lickers. And I'm not sure if it's in the Quran or in the Hadith, but apparently they live in the earth and they're licking the side of the mountain and their tongues are like acid. And at the end of every day, they get tired and they say, okay, we're going to stop. And if they don't say we're going to stop, inshallah, then otherwise the mountain grows back. But if the day that they say we're going to stop and start tomorrow, inshallah,
in God's name,
the mountain's not going to grow back and they're going to break out of the earth. And my dad said that in the end of days, there are going to be these creatures, Ma드주메, that come to the surface and attack people. And I don't know if it's these giants. I don't know if it's other things as well. But I thought that was another tidbit that should maybe be shared, because my grandmother is over here telling my dad that they're jinns. And then, she's doing the black magic. She's leaving animals up there. And here the Quran or the Hadith, I'm a Christian. I'm not a Muslim, but I know that my dad said in one of those books, there's a tale of these creatures that live in the earth, and, God's supposed to release them, in the end of days.
And what's interesting about that ties into, in my opinion, where there's actually scripture that talks about, in the day, it'll be like the days of Noah when Jesus returns.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what Jesus tells us himself. Ray, thanks so much for coming on the record. I really appreciate it. And please stay in touch, and thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on the show. And, if there's anything else that I can help with or answer, just based on my very, limited secondhand knowledge, I'd love to.
Thank you so much.